Well, good afternoon, everybody. So now I'm the Minister of Revenue, right? That means I am the tax collector for the province of Ontario. And my clients from my previous career don't know what to do because they used to come to me to beat the tax man. And now their guy is the tax man. But I cannot be their guy anymore. When you're a cabinet minister, you have to divorce yourself from all of your business interests, put everything into a blind trust. When I was the Minister of Research, I was the Minister for Venture Capital. So that was always a very good idea that we divorce ourselves from our previous careers when we're just serving Her Majesty in Cabinet. First of all, I just want to thank you for coming out, and I think we're making some strides. You know, when I first was elected, I was shocked to find out that I was actually the first certified financial planner ever elected to the legislature. And I had an opportunity as I spoke to all of my friends. Of course, I'm old enough to remember when I was the chapter president for LUAC and having Bob Fleischacker come out to Stratford to speak to us. And I remember when it was CAFA and then it became Advocis. But it reminds me that it was so important for our profession to actually speak with one voice and engage those people who make policy in the province of Ontario, the people that we elect, and that other groups do that. You know, the dentists have a day, the doctors have a day, the engineers have a day, the auto industry has a day, the carpenters have a day, you name it. They have a day at Queen's Park. Well, now we have a day at Queen's Park. We just had it the other day. I think we had over 60 members from Advocis who fanned out across Queen's Park and made sure that they talked to their own MPPs. I tell you, as an MPP, when somebody comes from back home and comes up to Queen's Park, you see them. You always do. And because you make that effort, the message that Advocis had this year was resonated throughout the legislature because we were able to hear that common advice. So I want to say to the people who work so hard to have Advocis' Advocacy Day, I think that it is paying dividends. It was interesting, one of my colleagues who helps organize it is Michael Prue, who's the finance critic for the NDP, and of course, another person from our industry, Frank Cleese, who's a Conservative member, who was, like myself at one time with Canada Life many, many decades ago. Michael got up and said something quite fascinating. He said, you know, 5 years ago when John asked me to come to this event, frankly, I knew nothing about what you people do and what you provide for Ontario. And now I'm happy to call you my friends because I know what contribution that you make. I would like to begin my remarks just by saying thank you. You know, Ontario, the whole global economy is going through one of the most tumultuous times. I think we will all look back on our careers and say, even my political career, that this was the most challenging and tumultuous of economic times. And the advice that the people in this room and our colleagues across Ontario have provided for people has been tested, and it has been proven to have been of tremendous value. This was no time for the consumer to be on his or her by themselves, on their own, through this tumultuous time. And those of us who believe in the nobility of our profession and the ability to ensure that people are protected and that they understand risk have been able to weather this storm, much like our province has been able to weather the storm. And there were so many people that had never sought professional advice, and they were cast upon the seas of that economic tsunami. And so I just want to say thank you for the work that you are doing every day, what it's meant to so many families right here in Ontario, that you are not fair weather friends, fair weather advisors, and that the fact that you're here today shows the quality of your practice. In every economic time, those who shouldn't be in an industry leave an industry. So the mere fact that you have survived and have prospered is a testament to the quality of the advice that you are giving your clients and the value that you are adding to those families and those businesses. So I just wanted to say thanks. I know you don't do it for thanks, but it's important for people to say thank you. I was so delighted to see that Don was speaking today about financial literacy. I'm in charge of implementing and communicating the largest tax reform in this province in over 40 years. have to harmonize the sales tax with the federal government, which will, for about 17% of purchases, increase the tax. But I also am eliminating 3 taxes, cutting 3 taxes, and doubling 3 tax grants. And as Roger Martin was saying the other day, and as what Dr. Jack Mintz has been saying, we haven't been tinkering here in Ontario. We're fundamentally changing our tax so that we are taxing the consumption of wealth more so that we tax the creation of wealth less. And in the 21st century, those economies that will succeed understand that financial dynamic, that we have to get out of the way of wealth creation. How people consume their wealth, that is their choice. And every modern economy around the world, except for us and the Americans, got to that reform many years before us. And the fact that Canada has this kind of bipolar disorder around this, where we do have an efficient national single value-added tax called the GST, which simply says we don't tax value more than once. If you create value, yes, indeed, it is taxed, but it's never taxed more than once. I'm so delighted that Jim Flaherty is coming to the, we don't call it Ontario Sales Congress. Yes, okay. I'm kind of an old guy. It's great that Jim is coming because as I tell people, when people charge the GST, they send it into Jim Flaherty minus what they've already paid Jim Flaherty. They charge it to their customer, pick up the money, they got to send it in, minus what they've already paid. But I'm the tax collector for the province of Ontario. I'm administering a system that we're getting rid of in July the 1st that was created in 1961 that says simply, charge it, send it into me, and I, as the tax collector, give people no credit for all the taxes that they've paid. So, of course, where is that cost? It's in the price. There's no other place for it to be. So I'm glad that we're modernizing here in Ontario. I'm glad that British Columbia is doing it. I think we are on the verge of actually having this go right across the country. It will save billions and billions of dollars and make our economy more competitive. But here's the best thing. I don't think the Americans can do this. We need a structural competitive advantage with our largest friend, neighbor, and competitor. They are our largest competitor for jobs. And so what we're doing is giving our industry, our business, our service sector a competitive advantage that cannot be taken away. That is not cyclical in nature like the value of energy or the value of the dollar. It is a structural advantage that we will have. And what Dr. Jack Mintz was saying is because we're doing this tax reform, over the next 10 years, there'll be 591,000 more people working.